So I watched a really old movie, like really old, but yeah, it it was more interesting than I thought it could be. So I don't know. I just wanted to watch like randomly, some sort of war movie, and I thought, ideally maybe a another war movie from the exact time when the war was going on. Kind of like how the dictator, Charlie Chaplin's The Dictator was made at that time. Yeah, and that was interesting, considering it's literally being made at the time. So in a way, it uses the present tense. That's the difference. Not that I mean, movies can use the present tense if they want to, but it's usually make believe in such a case. So it's literally being made during the war, so it is the present tense. And of course, considering it is during the war, whatever they say though isn't in hindsight. It's still happening. Was still happening back then. So it gives it an extra. I mean, yeah, this apparently here 49th. Um, yeah, it wasn't exactly factual. Apparently, no, it wasn't. But it was certainly still interesting. The way it was constructed and everything. I mean, it was supposed to be a propaganda movie, but it is. I mean, slightly more nuanced than most. I mean, propaganda usually presents a single point of view. That's it. You know, um, this literally follows this group, which in normal circumstances would be considered to be. Well, in most war movies, it wouldn't even follow them at all. They just be, the enemy, and that's it. It follows them here, and we do get nuance. So as much as these two at least, where yet again, I mean, one of the, I think it was the screenwriter who's yeah, a screenwriter, I think, said that he wanted to give Goebbels a run, as in compete with his efforts, but yeah, I don't think it's that slanted in terms of the one-sidedness of it. There are all sorts of and obviously it follows them as well, and I mean, yeah. So in terms of and there was one who just somehow remembered his beginning by making bread. That was a brilliant scene. Generally, that bit with the Mennonites was pretty good. Generally, that was the speech that the Mennonite so-called leader, gave was very interestingly made. It honestly kind of rivals Charlie Chaplin's speech at the end. It's sort of similar. So it doesn't rival in the sense that it's trying to compete or anything, but it's similar. But because these were made, I think, at the same time. I think, yeah. Of course, this isn't comedy at all. The Dictator was, but yeah, not so much the ending. So yeah, I mean, um, choosing to watch a war movie, and you get this, it's certainly better than most. It began a bit stereotypically, to be fair. I mean, I thought, it would be very, it was kind of boring at the beginning, but until it started to go, I didn't realize it was going to be. I mean, yes, one of the genres is drama, but I didn't quite. Well, I don't. Anyway, yeah, it it was so interesting. After that point, it's ramped up. its dramatic efforts and was interesting. It's a bit, I guess, strange that Laurence Olivier wasn't featured that much. I mean, he only had some scenes at the beginning, but not quite a lot. So I don't know if this is what he was at the beginning of his career or later on there. But yeah, one would have thought that since he is, he was at least such a, as I said, I don't know if this was the beginning or later, but usually characters are used more often. I don't know, but yeah. With regards to, I think he's called Anton Walbeck. Yeah, he was a revelation. I personally didn't ever encounter him before. The character he played was quite interesting. Yeah, the everything that happened there was interesting, quite. So yeah, it's interesting as war movies go, at least. It's not entertaining per se. It's still not one of the most harrowing war movies. Obviously, I mean there's more painful ones, but in terms of this sort of discussion, and this was happening, of course, before most of World War II happened. It was like about a year or two away from it starting, pretty much. I think France was already capitulated, and yeah, I read that the screenwriter was nearly he was in quite a place there when they arrested him and such, because of the possible ramifications. That's really responsible. But, yeah, I honestly don't know why the there's anything about alien enemies, so-called alien enemies. Apparently, it might still be in place, not considering any background circumstances. Is a bit idiotic, as proven by such a case. He has actually won an Oscar for the story, apparently, which yeah, doesn't exist anymore. It's an Oscar that was last awarded in '56, I think, 50 somewhere. So yeah, has been there for nearly 70 years now, 60 something, 64 years ago. Yeah. So it's kind of a unique sort of historical tidbit there, trivia. Well, when it comes to old movies, of course, they never sort of build like modern movies are. Oh, here's an Oscar winner. Watch an Oscar winner. I had no idea it was an Oscar winner. Of course, I chose this completely randomly, so that might be the reason. But even after reading about it, doesn't seem like it was plastered all over or anything like many modern movies do. So in a way, it is interesting. This, despite not being historical, it's still interesting. So because essentially it creates, well, in a way, sort of like Charlie Chaplin's Dictator as well. It is fictional, but it creates reality out of fiction, essentially. I suppose. This obviously being more dramatic and Chaplin being more comedic somehow. Before I watched that, I still didn't think it was possible to do a comedy out of it, but he did seem to manage it. Um, I also commented on that some months ago. So yeah, this this was a surprise because I really thought it was going to just continue on with lots of shooting and whatnot, but it didn't. There were a few bombs at the beginning, a little, just a little technicalities and such. So I mean, it was boring at the beginning, but then it really went on and it became interesting. All the conversations were quite interesting, actually. So the scriptwriter did indeed do a interesting job, and yeah, I mean, it's not as it was interesting. But anyway, that's pretty much it.